I thought I had built the perfect life. A beautiful home, a successful career, and what I believed was a loving family with my wife Jessica and our daughter Amanda. Then it all came crashing down when I discovered Jessica had been cheating. The pain of betrayal was only the beginning. My own daughter, whom I had cherished since birth, not only took her mother's side but helped cover up the affair, then lied in court to paint me as abusive. 6 years of silence followed as I rebuilt my life. Now she's back, demanding I pay for her wedding while accusing me of replacing her with my stepson and new wife. Before I tell you what happened when my daughter showed up after 6 years demanding wedding money, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Do not forget to subscribe and hit that like button if you have ever had to rebuild your life after betrayal. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood in Ohio, the son of hardworking parents who taught me the value of family. When I met Jessica during my sophomore year of college, I thought I had found someone who shared those values. She was studying business like me, and we connected instantly over our similar backgrounds and dreams for the future. After graduation, we moved to Indianapolis, where we both found decent jobs, got married in a small ceremony, and started building our life together. 3 years into our marriage, Amanda was born. The moment I held my daughter in my arms, I made a silent promise to always protect her and give her the best life possible. I still remember her tiny fingers wrapping around my thumb, and how that simple gesture cemented my commitment to being the best father I could be. As Amanda grew, so did my career. I put in long hours at the financial consulting firm where I worked, often taking on additional projects to ensure we could afford a comfortable lifestyle. Jessica had reduced her work hours to part-time so she could spend more days with Amanda, which meant I became the primary breadwinner. It was a sacrifice I gladly made, missing weekend activities and working late to provide for my family. We moved to a larger house in a good school district when Amanda was 7, and everything seemed to be going according to plan. The first signs that something was wrong appeared when Amanda entered middle school. Jessica suddenly developed new interests and made new friends I had never met. She joined a gym, started attending evening classes, and her phone became something she guarded closely. At first, I dismissed these changes as her rediscovering herself now that Amanda was more independent. When she started coming home late, several nights a week, she always had plausible explanations about study groups for her new part-time marketing courses or drinks with coworkers. I tried to ignore the growing knot in my stomach, telling myself all marriages go through rough patches. I suggested date nights and weekend getaways, but Jessica always had excuses why she could not make time. I tried talking to her about the distance growing between us, but she accused me of being paranoid and controlling. Not wanting to be that kind of husband, I backed off and focused on being a good dad to Amanda, who was now 13 and going through her own teenage changes. Then came the day that shattered everything. I had borrowed Jessica's laptop to check my email when a message notification popped up from someone named James. Something about the preview text made me pause. I clicked it open and my world collapsed. There, in explicit detail, were messages between my wife and her coworker planning their next encounter, reminiscing about their last one, and even joking about how oblivious I was. Scrolling back, I discovered their affair had been going on for over 8 months. When I confronted Jessica that night, she initially denied everything despite the evidence right in front of her. Then, as I showed her message after message, her denials turned to blame. If I had been more attentive, if I had not worked so much, if I had been more exciting in bed, none of this would have happened. She claimed I had driven her to seek companionship elsewhere. The worst shock came the next day. Amanda, now 14, came home from school and immediately sided with her mother. Not only that, I discovered she had known about the affair for months. She had covered for her mother, making excuses when Jessica was with James, and had even met him several times. My own daughter looked me in the eye and said, "Mom deserves to be happy. James makes her laugh in ways you never could." Those words cut deeper than anything Jessica had said. I suggested family counseling, hoping to salvage some part of our relationship, but Jessica refused. She wanted a divorce and was not interested in reconciliation. Within weeks, she filed the papers demanding our house, full custody of Amanda, and significant alimony despite her own income and education. She claimed I had been emotionally unavailable and controlling throughout our marriage, rewriting our 15 years together into a narrative that painted me as the villain. I never thought my family could turn against me so completely. The two people I loved most in the world had not only betrayed my trust but seemed determined to destroy the life I had built. As I sat alone in our house that night looking at family photos that now felt like lies, I had no idea that the worst was still to come. Jessica and Amanda moved out 2 weeks after our confrontation, temporarily staying with James in his downtown apartment. I remained in our family home, surrounded by memories that once brought comfort, but now only intensified my pain. Each day I tried reaching out to Amanda through texts and calls, most of which went unanswered. On the rare occasions she did respond, her messages were curt and cold, making it clear she saw me as the enemy. While I struggled to maintain some connection with my daughter, Jessica was busy crafting her narrative. From mutual friends, I learned she was telling everyone I had been controlling and emotionally abusive throughout our marriage. She claimed she had stayed only for Amanda's sake and had finally found the courage to leave. People we had known for years began looking at me differently. Some stopped calling entirely. Others asked pointed questions about incidents that had never occurred, clearly testing Jessica's claims against my reactions. The betrayal expanded beyond the emotional when I discovered Jessica had been systematically draining our joint accounts for months before leaving. She had transferred nearly $60,000 to a private account I knew nothing about. When I confronted her through my lawyer, she claimed it was protection in case I tried to financially control her during the divorce. The court ordered her to return half the money, but the damage to my financial stability was already done. My lawyer, Daniel, was blunt about our situation. "Keith," he said during one of our strategy meetings, "these accusations of emotional abuse are serious. Without evidence, it's her word against yours. But judges tend to err on the side of caution, especially when children are involved. We need to fight back against these false claims aggressively." I agreed, but my heart broke knowing this approach would likely push Amanda even further away. Still, I had to defend myself against accusations that could affect not just custody arrangements, but my professional reputation and future. Throughout this period, Amanda's behavior toward me grew increasingly hostile. She refused my invitations for dinner or movies, canceled our planned weekend visits last minute, and when we did meet, she sat in stony silence or spent the entire time texting friends. Each rejection felt like another knife twisting in my chest, but I persisted, hoping to break through whatever narrative Jessica had convinced her was true. As our court date for the custody hearing approached, I prepared with Daniel, gathering evidence of my involvement in Amanda's life. School records showing my attendance at every parent-teacher conference, photos from family vacations. I had planned text messages demonstrating my consistent attempts to maintain our relationship. I clung to hope that facts would matter, that the truth of our family life would be recognized. The day in court remains the most devastating of my life. When Amanda took the stand, the daughter I had raised for 14 years looked at me with cold detachment before turning to the judge and systematically destroying my character. She described arguments that had never happened, claimed I had monitored Jessica's every move, and said she had often been afraid of my temper. She recounted specific incidents in vivid detail, alleging I had once thrown dishes during an argument, had frequently belittled Jessica's intelligence, and had made Amanda feel she could never meet my expectations. These fabrications were delivered with such conviction that even I began questioning my memory. Had I been a different person than I remembered? The confusion and hurt must have shown on my face, which Amanda interpreted as anger, further proving her point about my temperament. My testimony afterward felt hollow and defensive. Daniel did his best to challenge the inconsistencies in Amanda's statements, but the damage was done. The judge, a stern woman with 30 years on the bench, clearly found Amanda's testimony compelling. She interrupted me several times when I tried to explain the context of situations Amanda had distorted. The ruling came down heavily in Jessica's favor. She received primary custody with me, granted only 1 weekend per month with Amanda. I lost the house we had built together and was ordered to pay both child and spousal support that consumed nearly 40% of my income. The judge cited Amanda's testimony as a significant factor in her decision, noting concerns about my pattern of controlling behavior. After court, Amanda approached me in the hallway. Rather than showing any regret for her testimony, she informed me she no longer wished to maintain even the limited visitation the court had granted. "I do not want to see you anymore," she said, her voice eerily calm. "Mom says I do not have to if I do not want to, and I do not. Please do not contact me." With those words, she walked away, joining Jessica and James, who waited by the elevators. Jessica looked back once, not with remorse, but with something that seemed like satisfaction before the doors closed between us. The months that followed were the darkest of my life. I moved into a small apartment across town, having lost not only my family but most of our shared assets. I lost 20 pounds, my work suffered, and I spent many nights staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of my marriage and fatherhood, searching for signs I had missed that might explain how everything had gone so catastrophically wrong. My physician prescribed antidepressants after I broke down during a routine checkup. Friends tried to help, but few understood the depth of being betrayed not just by a spouse, but by your own child. I kept going through the motions of life, but inside I felt hollow, a shell of the man I had been before, discovering that text message on Jessica's laptop. Recovery came slowly, beginning 6 months after the court hearing when I joined a support group for divorced fathers. Listening to others share similar experiences helped me realize I was not alone, and their strategies for rebuilding gave me a blueprint to follow. I focused first on my physical health, forcing myself to eat regularly and starting a gym routine that helped with both sleep and stress. Professionally, I threw myself into work, eventually earning a promotion that helped stabilize my finances despite the ongoing support payments. My apartment remained sparse and utilitarian, but it was mine, a space untainted by memories of betrayal. 2 years after the divorce, I met Stephanie at a professional development conference. She worked for a partner firm and had been assigned to collaborate with me on a joint project. Unlike the immediate connection I had felt with Jessica in college, my relationship with Stephanie developed gradually, built on mutual respect and shared experiences rather than youthful passion. Stephanie had her own complicated history. She was a widow raising her son Tyler alone after losing her husband to cancer 3 years earlier. Tyler was 10 when we met, a serious, thoughtful boy still processing his grief. Stephanie was forthright about her situation from our first date, making it clear that Tyler was her priority, and any relationship would need to develop with his well-being in mind. I appreciated her honesty and shared my own situation, including the painful estrangement from Amanda, who was by then 16 and still maintaining her no-contact stance despite my periodic attempts to reach out on holidays and birthdays. Stephanie neither judged me for the failed relationship nor offered platitudes about reconciliation. Instead, she simply listened, offering the understanding I had craved since the divorce. Our relationship progressed carefully. Stephanie and I dated for 6 months before I was introduced to Tyler, and even then only as her friend from work. He was initially wary, quiet during our first few outings together. I respected his boundaries, never pushing for a connection but remaining consistently friendly and interested in his life. The turning point came during a computer crisis. Tyler had been working on a school project when his laptop crashed, potentially losing weeks of work. When Stephanie mentioned it during our phone call that evening, I offered to take a look. That Saturday, I spent 3 hours recovering his files and showing him some basic troubleshooting techniques. His relief and gratitude cracked open the door to a real relationship. Over the next year, as my relationship with Stephanie deepened, so did my connection with Tyler. We discovered shared interests in baseball and science fiction movies. I helped with homework, attended his school events, and gradually became a regular presence in their lives. 3 years after our first meeting, Stephanie and I married in a small ceremony with Tyler serving as best man. We moved into a new house together, creating a home that honored their memories of Tyler's father while making space for new traditions. I never tried to replace the man Tyler had lost, but I worked to be a supportive presence in his life, a friend who eventually earned the privilege of parental trust and authority. During these years of rebuilding, I continued reaching out to Amanda on significant dates. Each message was met with silence. I sent her a graduation gift when she finished high school, which was returned unopened. When she turned 18, I wrote a longer letter expressing my ongoing love and openness to reconciliation whenever she might be ready. This too received no response. Eventually, I settled into a pattern of sending brief birthday and Christmas messages, expecting nothing in return but unwilling to completely sever my side of the connection. Then, nearly 6 years after our last conversation in that courthouse hallway, an email from Amanda appeared in my inbox. Seeing her name sent a shock through my system. The message was brief and businesslike. She was engaged to be married the following spring and wanted to meet to discuss wedding arrangements. No mention of our estrangement, no acknowledgement of the years of silence, just an assumption that I would be available to discuss what she clearly expected would be my financial contribution. I showed the email to Stephanie that evening, my emotions a turbulent mix of hope, hurt, and wariness. "What do you think she really wants?" Stephanie asked gently. I had no answer, only questions, and a cautious optimism that this might be the first step toward healing. After discussing it with both Stephanie and my therapist, I replied to Amanda, agreeing to meet at a cafe near her apartment the following weekend. The 3 days before our meeting were filled with anxiety. I rehearsed possible conversations, prepared myself for disappointment, and tried to manage my expectations. Stephanie offered to come along for support, but I felt this first meeting needed to be between Amanda and me alone. Amanda was 20 minutes late to the cafe, entering with the confident stride of a stranger. At 20, she looked so much like Jessica that it momentarily took my breath away. She sat across from me with a brief, impersonal greeting, then immediately opened a wedding planning binder. "I am getting married to Ryan in April," she began without preamble. "We are booking the Lakeside Gardens venue, which requires a 50% deposit by next month." She slid a budget sheet across the table, detailing costs for a wedding totaling over $75,000. Her expectation that I would cover these expenses was implicit in her presentation, with no discussion of my involvement in the wedding beyond financial. I asked about her fiancé, her studies, her life over the past 6 years. She answered minimally before steering the conversation back to wedding costs. When I finally brought up our estrangement, suggesting that rebuilding our relationship might need to precede financial discussions, her expression hardened. "I thought you would be happy I am including you at all," she said. "Most fathers would be grateful for the chance to walk their daughter down the aisle." "I would be honored to be part of your wedding," I replied carefully. "But I am hoping we can work on our relationship too. There is a lot of hurt between us that needs healing." Her response stunned me. "You have your new family now anyway. I have seen the pictures on Facebook of you playing dad to Tyler. You replaced me and Mom pretty quickly. The accusation was so unfair it momentarily left me speechless." When I found my voice, I explained that Tyler and Stephanie had come into my life years after she and Jessica had chosen to exit it, and that no one had replaced her in my heart. Whatever she dismissed. "The point is, I need the deposit by the 15th. Can I count on you or not?" I offered a compromise, a smaller contribution, along with participation in her wedding planning and ceremony, if she would agree to a few family counseling sessions so we could begin addressing the past. Amanda's response was immediate and harsh. "After what you put Mom through, you expect me to go to counseling. You should just get over it and be grateful. I am willing to let you be involved at all." When I pressed her about what exactly she thought I had done, she recited the same false narrative from the custody hearing. I had been controlling, emotionally abusive, and had driven her mother to seek happiness elsewhere. She still believed these lies completely had built her understanding of our family around them, and saw me as the villain who now owed restitution. "Amanda," I said as gently as possible, "those things never happened. I loved you and your mother. I was devastated by the affair and by losing you." "Mom does not lie," she responded flatly. "And I saw how you were. I remember." Our meeting ended shortly after, with Amanda clearly disappointed by my hesitation to simply write a check. As she left, she said she would give me a week to come to my senses and agree to fund the wedding without conditions. Watching her walk away for the second time in 6 years, I felt a familiar ache, but something else too, a resolve that had been missing during our court battle. After the cafe meeting, I spent days reflecting on what had transpired. Amanda had not come seeking reconciliation but financial support with no strings attached. She still viewed me through the distorted lens Jessica had created and seemed to have no interest in hearing my perspective or rebuilding our relationship. I discussed the situation extensively with Stephanie, who offered unwavering support, while reminding me that I deserved basic respect even from my estranged daughter. "You cannot buy your way back into her life," she observed gently, "and you should not try." With Stephanie's encouragement, I wrote Amanda a heartfelt letter instead of simply calling or texting my decision. I wanted to give her my complete thoughts without interruption or dismissal. In the letter, I expressed my enduring love for her despite our estrangement. I acknowledged the pain of our fractured relationship and my ongoing hope for eventual healing. I explained that while I would love to support her wedding, I could not in good conscience provide $75,000 while being treated as nothing more than a bank account. I offered instead a more modest $5,000 gift along with my participation in the wedding conditional on us attending at least 3 family counseling sessions before the ceremony. "I want to be your father again," I wrote in closing, "not just your financial backer. I hope you want that too, but the choice is yours." Amanda's response came via a furious phone call. She accused me of being selfish and uncaring, of putting conditions on what should be freely given out of parental obligation. She threatened to exclude me from the wedding entirely if I did not meet her financial demands. Throughout her tirade, I remained calm, reiterating my desire for reconciliation but standing firm on my boundaries. After Amanda hung up, I felt an unexpected sense of peace. For the first time since the divorce, I had advocated for my own emotional needs rather than simply accepting whatever crumbs of connection Amanda might offer. The next day, Jessica called something that had not happened in years. Her approach was initially conciliatory, reminiscing about our better days together and suggesting that helping with the wedding could be a fresh start for everyone. When this did not sway me, her tone changed, becoming accusatory and manipulative. "After everything you put us through, you owe her this," she insisted. During this conversation, Jessica inadvertently revealed something significant. James had left her 2 years earlier for a younger colleague. She was now struggling financially and could not contribute much to the wedding herself. The extravagant ceremony Amanda had planned would need to be scaled back considerably without my contribution. I felt no satisfaction in Jessica's reversal of fortune, only sadness at how our family had disintegrated, and how Amanda remained caught in the middle, still loyal to her mother's false narrative, despite the evidence of Jessica's character. A few days later, Amanda sent a text that she considered an ultimatum. "Last chance. Pay for the wedding or do not bother coming at all." The decision was painful but clear. I responded that I loved her and would always be open to rebuilding our relationship, but I would not be financially supporting the wedding under these circumstances. The $5,000 offer remained open, as did my desire to participate in family counseling. Amanda did not reply, and I assumed that was the end of the matter. I would not be attending her wedding, and our estrangement would continue indefinitely. I allowed myself to grieve this second loss while focusing on the family I had built with Stephanie and Tyler. Surprisingly, several relatives from both sides of the family reached out in the weeks that followed. It seemed Amanda had been sharing her version of events widely, but in doing so had prompted people to seek my perspective as well. For the first time, some family members heard my side of the story, including details about Jessica's affair and Amanda's role in covering it up. Several expressed regret for having accepted Jessica's narrative without question and offered belated support. As Amanda's wedding day approached, I sent a card with a small gift and my sincere wishes for her happiness. I did not expect a response and received none. On the actual day, Stephanie, Tyler, and I went hiking in a state park, keeping my mind occupied and surrounded by the family that had helped me rebuild my life. 3 months after the wedding, another email from Amanda appeared in my inbox. The tone was markedly different from our previous exchanges, less demanding and more reflective. She thanked me for the card and gift, then shared that her wedding had been scaled down considerably from her original plans. Most surprisingly, she mentioned that several family members had spoken to her about their conversations with me, causing her to question some of her assumptions. "I am not ready to say Mom lied," she wrote, "but I am willing to consider that there might be another side to the story." It was the first acknowledgement in 6 years that her understanding of our family breakdown might not be entirely accurate. She closed by asking if my offer of family counseling was still open, separate from any wedding financial discussions. I responded cautiously, but hopefully agreeing to counseling while making it clear I had no expectations beyond open communication. We scheduled our first session for the following month, giving both of us time to prepare emotionally. The rebuilding of our relationship has been slow and remains ongoing. Our first counseling session was tense and tearful with decades of hurt and misunderstanding to address. Amanda still struggles to reconcile her memory of events with my account and the emerging evidence of Jessica's manipulations. Trust returns in tiny increments, easily damaged by misunderstandings or triggers from our shared past. Yet there is progress. Last month, Amanda joined Stephanie, Tyler, and me for dinner at our home, her first visit to the house where I now live. The conversation was sometimes awkward but largely civil, with moments of genuine connection breaking through the lingering discomfort. Through this long, painful journey, I have learned crucial lessons about self-respect, boundaries, and the true nature of family. I understand now that accepting blame for others' actions does not prove love, but enables dysfunction. I recognize that while forgiveness may be given freely, trust must be earned through consistent action and honesty. Most importantly, I have learned that family is defined not solely by blood, but by mutual respect, support, and care, qualities I found with Stephanie and Tyler when my biological family fractured. The road ahead with Amanda remains uncertain. Some wounds may never fully heal, and the time lost cannot be recovered. But I approach our renewed connection with cautious optimism, grateful for this unexpected chance to know the woman my daughter has become while remaining grounded in the family I built after losing her. Have you ever had to rebuild a relationship with someone who hurt you deeply? What boundaries did you set to protect yourself while opening your heart again? Please share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, subscribe to hear more real-life journeys of healing and growth. Like and share this video if you believe in standing firm in your self-worth even with family. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for others and yourself is to maintain healthy boundaries.